The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
You're a bit low on the audio.
I'm CJ.
Ah, you didn't have your mic on.
I forgot my mic again.
It's Wednesday, hump day.
And the first day back.
That's right. I hope everybody enjoyed their Labor Day weekend.
And for everyone that didn't receive it, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect since 10:40 this morning. Severe thunderstorms between Woonsocket and Dartmouth right now. I know outside there's some thunder boomers, so please be careful when you're driving. There's also flash flood warning in effect. So, again, please be careful, especially if you're driving through Stafford Square or the bottom of Plymouth Avenue, where they get through in boats.
That's right. You normally need a small boat to get through Stafford Square if we get any torrential rain. So.
I'd like to say hello to City Hall. Thank you for watching.
We always do.
Yeah, we received a phone call just moments before our show from City Councilor Steven Camara in regards to having Mass General Law 53, Section 18B adopted by the city, which would require that the city put a pro and con side of any ballot question, i.e. the charter. Now, former City Councilor and Charter Commissioner Michael Miozza is against putting a pro and a con on the ballot. My question would be, why would you be against?
I'll answer that question.
Okay.
Because he doesn't want anybody to know the fact that they're taking all the rights away from the people with this new charter. And obviously, if you put it on the ballot, again, you're allowing the people to speak. What a horrible idea! I think the entire intent of that charter was to take the rights away from the people to interact with their government. Right.
So, City Councilor Camara was with Corporate Counsel Joe Macy and City Mayor Jasiel F. Correia II. And they are also in tune with putting Mass General Law 53, Section 18B adopted.
I don't understand why this should even be discussed. I think it should be automatic, not only on this question, but I think any question.
I agree.
Any question that's on the ballot should have a pro and con. How many people have voted? I guess it's on a ballot. I'll vote yes or I'll vote no. Some people just vote no on everything. Some people just vote yes. And we always have been on this show firm proponents of educating yourself. And I think that any ballot question should have a pro and a con. Every ballot question. And maybe this charter was good in the fact that it gave the city enough impetus to actually do this, because to me it's outrageous that they put these things on. And you and I study these things and we read about them before you go into, but most people don't. And I think that it should have been automatic. And I'm going to encourage every city councilor that I speak to support putting this on the ballot, because obviously this is more than a question of putting a pro or con on the ballot. It's a question that gets down again to my issue with the charter. It's not allowing the people to get fully informed and participate in the process. Some people might not even vote on it without a pro and con, because they'll look at it and say, I got absolutely no idea what this is about. Oh, it's a charter? What's a charter? Or any question. And I think it's, I think obviously, again, I think we wear part of the first Section 5 out on this show, but I think it can never be worn out that all politicians in the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts are answerable to the people. They are agents of the people and at all times answerable to the people. And I think that the more information the people get, the more informed decision they can make. And the more power you take away from people, the less we are abiding by the United States Constitution and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Constitution. So the fact is that, you know, we will be speaking, and I know CJ, I know you are, and I will be speaking out very, very vocally against this charter, because I believe that the fact that a charter commission that we elected, the people elected, then went out and hired, number one, that's not what talk about ballot questions, right? Talk about ballot questions. That's not what the ballot questions said. They said they were going to basically just revise it, kind of. Yeah, review it, revise it a little bit, and it was going to be an ongoing process. So what did our Charter Commission do? All except one, and kudos again to Charter Commissioner Robillard for being the you know, sometimes the lone dissenter. They went out and hired a consultant to give us a conglomeration of everybody else's charter. That's not what we wanted. We wanted the Fall River Charter to be addressed. Secondly, in that charter now, they make any other revision from now, they've completely removed it from the public. We will no longer elect people from this city to review the charter. It will be done by politicians. And you know what happens when you allow politicians to steer the ship.
Yeah,
you normally have a giant oil slick like they had up in Alaska.
The Titanic gets revisited.
That's right. So, you know, so obviously.
So I will be speaking again with City Councilor Camara after the show, and I will indeed work with him in regards to this matter. You know, a couple of messages came in like, "Wow, politics makes strange bedfellows." No, it doesn't. This is what we stand for. If we believe in what you're doing, we're going to say we believe in what you're doing. We may not agree totally in your political beliefs or your statements, but you know what? When you're on the right track, what are we going to do? Say you're wrong?
Yeah,
you know.
Absolutely. And, you know, and the thing is that, look, even if I was in favor of this charter, I would still be in favor of having pros and cons.
Exactly.
I've always been in favor of having pros and cons. You know, everybody now, because what they'll spin is say, of course he's in favor of this because he's against the charter.
Right.
Well, even if I was for the charter, I would want pros and cons.
My problem is this. Why is it so important for Councilor Miozza and the other nitwitted schlubs, okay?
Okay.
The other 7 nitwitted schlubs, so against putting a pro position and a con position, just like they do on the state ballot. When the marijuana question was there, they had a pro side and a con side. When Prop 2.5 was out there, there was a pro side and a con side.
No, yeah, no, you're right. But
it educates the public on what they're voting for.
Well, that's what they don't want, CJ. You know that. You know, look, the fact is, I'm looking at this whole process from the beginning, and it's been a disaster. We elected the commissioners, then the commissioners go out, and they abdicate their authority to some consultant. You know, some guy that's going to take all the boilerplate language. You know, they're going to pay him a bunch of money, and he's going to do very little work. Because what he's going to do is cut and paste from every other charter, and you know, of course, he's going to say, "Well, I did a whole bunch of charters." Well, you did a lot of cut and pasting, but the fact is that they don't want their work to be scrutinized. You know, they're running fundraisers. It's actually a political campaign to pass this charter.
They're actually a PAC.
Yeah, they're a PAC. They're running a political campaign to get their charter approved. That, to me, speaks volumes about the problem with this charter. The charter is part of the way we run our government, and it should stand up on itself. Do you really think we're going to have to run fundraisers and put signs up and give out push cards to defend the Constitution of the United States?
Nope.
Or the Declaration of Independence?
Yeah, that we have to.
You know? I mean, look, the reality is this should be able to stand on itself. I mean, obviously, if this charter didn't create some real concerns for people and talk about, you know, I mean, you're right. people can perceive that as, wow, you got strange bedfellows here. But the fact is, no, it's about the issue. And as we've always said, when you do something right, or if you, or, you know, we will say that. But I think this is a lot more than just putting a pro and con. I think this casts the light of scrutiny on the charter itself. Maybe this will make people pay attention, because they've got their shills marching up in front of the council all the time, talking about how wonderful this is. Well, it's not wonderful when the average person can't run for public office. The United States has always been a place where the people control the government, and any one of us should be able to walk out there, pull papers, and run for office, and bring our ideas, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, to the people.
You know,
but what did they do? They made you need more signatures to run for mayor than you do for state office. It's absurd. And what did one of these commissioners say?
Commissioner
CJ?
Assad. Commissioner Assad, who is also an attorney, by the way, said that we have to up the number of signatures so we can vet viable candidates.
Wow, that sounds a little discriminatory to me.
I agree.
Vet. Are you saying that some Americans aren't worthy to run for public office?
I think that's what the commissioner meant to say. Yes,
Mr. Assad, shame on you.
At least in my opinion. Yeah.
Shame on you.
Yep. And that's the whole, and that speaks volumes about the entire charter. That one comment, which was made in December of 2016. So you can go and look at that video, because there was only one meeting that month. And he made that statement. Call me a liar. Go find it, and you'll see, oh, wait, CJ's not lying. And the worst part about it is you have the knuckleheaded 8, okay? I'm loving coming up with these names for them, who are turning around saying, well, if you like most of it, you got to vote for it. No! I'm not going to vote for it. If I don't like one thing, just one thing, I'm not voting for it. Because it's not worth it, especially when you're taking away my rights.
Yeah, who said that? Which one said?
That came from Venice.
Oh, well, I guess, you know, I thought it was actually the other way around. If there's something in it, that's the reason they had it, all or nothing. It's like, you don't like it. So theoretically, we could write the greatest charter in the world, and then you and I are in favor of public executions, so we slide that little thing into the charter.
Right.
We'll have public executions. Then we go out and tell the rest of the people who are adamantly opposed to maybe drawing, quartering people in front of the government center that, oh, don't worry about it. It's only one thing.
That's right.
You know, don't worry. Don't worry. That's absurd. That's ludicrous. Again, they're trying to sell a bill of goods, and this charter is to me, an affront to democracy. It's an affront.
I agree. Hey, Chip, did you fill up your gas tank?
Yeah, and I noticed they're gouging us again. And it's a terrible thing what happened down in Houston. But anything they use, you're not going to tell me they don't have a tremendous supply. And I saw on the national news, most of these refineries are already back in service, and the rest of them will be in service within a month.
And the federal government released hundreds of thousands of millions of barrels of oil and fuel. But we got Hurricane Irma. So again, we'll get slammed again. So we got gas up to almost $3 a gallon in some places. And we're going to go up again after Hurricane Irma hits Florida. Don't ask me why.
So I guess that actually removes any thought that corporate greed was beginning to dissipate. No, they found another excuse. They haven't made enough money. They only make trillions of dollars every year. So let's gouge a few more cents from them, and we'll use any excuse. I'm surprised that we didn't have an elevation in gas prices a month ago when some sheikh in the Middle East had diarrhea or something. I don't know.
Hey, what did Exxon used to say? Put a tiger in your tank?
That's right.
Well, now they're saying put a tiger in your wallet because we're going to empty it.
Yeah. I mean, they've done this for years, and it's the old ploy. Bring it up. Say you're going to bring it up to $5 a gallon, then when it only gets to 4, people are actually happy. But no, that's, you know, and that's what they do. They're going to jack it up, but it's going to be very slow going down. It went up, notice one thing, it went up virtually overnight.
Yep.
It will not go down overnight.
And the worst part about it is it went up overnight, and that was the gas that was already in the ground.
That's right. It was already there. But let's take advantage.
Yep. Hey, what's sprinkled like Jimmy's across a Sunday?
Offices of Economic Development, huh?
Marc Dion, you know, this was his column on September 3rd. Business is hard. You have to buy things and then sell them for more money. Then you get paid.
Hey, I like this one, though. He calls Fall River the streetscape city. Very nice. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, did you see his automated line? To continue hearing this in English, press 1. To continue hearing this in any kind of hundreds of languages spoken around the world or in Spanish, press 8 for Portuguese. You press 1. The whole music is, there you go. If you are a business, please listen to the following list of options. The recording says, this may take a few minutes, so you might want to consider donating to the re-election campaign of Fall River Mayor Jasiel Correia. That's Correia. Press 1 if you want to get into Fall River. 2 if you want to get out of Fall River. Everyone's pressing 2.
And I've heard that down at the government center, I haven't been down there in a few days, silly me, that the information desk there has a new mandate to hand out a little informational brochure that has guess whose picture on it?
The mayor's.
The mayor's. Could that be a veiled political action there?
Of course.
You know. So
but I love this.
Go ahead.
Okay. So you press 1. That's because you want to get into Fall River. Now, press 1 if your business is currently illegal, but may not be for long. Press 2 if you're a tattoo parlor or a dollar store. And press 3 if you're a legitimate established business and you want to hire hundreds of people. You press 3. Press 1 if you'd like to locate your business in an old mill. Press 2 if you like your business near an old mill. Or 3 if you'd like your business in the industrial park. You press 3. Press 1 if your business would require a marijuana license. 2 if your business would require a liquor license. Don't press this one if you know what's good for you. Press 3 if your business just does regular stuff like manufacturing women's shoes or weapons of mass destruction. You press 3. Congratulations, you've reached the inner sanctum of Fall River Economic Development. The recording says just a few more steps to go. Press 1 if you want your economic development needs handled by the Fall River Office of Economic Development. You press 1. That number is no longer in service. The recording says stop screwing with us or you'll never get a TIF. Press 1 to return to the last menu of choices.
Of semi-choices.
Yep.
That's right.
You have to, you know, his column is very good. Oh, and for those of you who are texting like crazy about what is this thing on my thing, this is actually my press badge. And this one here, this is a new one, because this is the one we get every year here at Spindle City Straight Talk, which says State House Press. This one here, I shall read it, says, United States District Court, District of Massachusetts. Company South Coast Media, Media Identification Card. This means that when I go into the U.S. District Court, I can walk through and not be worried about security or having my cell phone taken away from me or anything else. And I get to sit in when certain politicians may be getting convicted of felonies.
Oh, God. I guess I'll have to buy a ticket. I don't have one for the feds. I'm a state...
No, you're South Coast Media, so guess what?
I can get in on your pass, okay?
Yeah, no, you'll get your own.
I'll go get my own then.
You have to go pick. You just have to go pick it up.
The next time I'm in Boston.
You know, the Herald News did a couple of articles on our, and we actually got named. The People's Debate got named in the Herald News.
Yeah, but it was a pretty
lame.
It was it was a pretty lame article. It really didn't get into any depth. But I watched the debate, and more to come.
5 takeaways from the Fall River People's Debate. You have to like it. At least they put, and they gave us the headline. Come on, they gave us the headline. Do better. You can't do better than that. So, takeaway 1: Mayor Jasiel Correia II did not attend the debate in the auditorium of the James M. Morton Middle School instead of hosting a political fundraiser at Battleship Cove, which, by the way, people, he generated allegedly $111,000 on the battleship that day. And that tells you, the voters of Fall River, how important you were. You couldn't give him $111,000, so he wanted nothing to do with you. But under Mass state law, that money was acquired on August 30th. State law gives him 72 hours to report it. When I looked this morning, guess what wasn't there?
Oh, no, not another campaign finance violation. Oh, God.
His account has $56,000 in it, and that's before expenses. So and I don't understand how he gets all these expenses. And the sad part about it is, as I said, when you review these campaign finance reports, you see who's so far up the mayor's backside that you know that if this mayor gets reelected and these individuals get elected, he's got everything he wants, which means Fall River is going to go right into the crapper. Because if the people aren't represented, and I'm not saying that the decision will be right or wrong, I'm just saying when the people are not represented by their elected officials, they are violating the Constitution of this state. They are violating the law because, you remember, their power comes from you, the people of Fall River.
Oh, you're right. And what a lot of people, fail to figure, it's just like that mantra that we heard. Joseph Goebbels had it. You tell a big enough lie often enough, people begin to believe it. We can go back and remember people going in front of the council a few years ago, basically with this, people got to get used to paying taxes. Your taxes have to go up every year. That's just the way it is. Well, no, that's not the way it is. Actually, your taxes should only go up when it's absolutely necessary. After you've cut all the fat from government, after we've eliminated all these patronage positions, after we stop staying at the Waldorf Astoria or the Fontainebleau, after we make sure that every single dime we spend is in the best interest of the people of Fall River, then you're going to have to get pay rate. You're going to have to increase taxes periodically. Why? Because people who work for the city deserve a reasonable pay raise, not a $30,000 a year pay raise in a city where the average household income is only a couple $1,000s more. But people need pay raises. The cost of utilities in city buildings go up. So these, then you can go to the public and say we need to increase taxes for this. Not every single year. This has become like the federal government. It's like spend every dime you got, and that's what justifies you increasing your budget next year. But the only problem is the federal government prints their own money. That's why they're trillions of dollars in debt, because they can deficit spend. By law, cities, towns, states cannot deficit spend. So they technically are deficit spending every year, but in its purest sense, it isn't deficit spending. Because what they do is they spend money they don't have. Instead of printing their money, they shoplift your wallet. It's screw you, taxpayer, every year. Because now we're running on the federal government principle. Spend everything you got, add more, but instead of printing the money and devaluing it, we go back to the beleaguered taxpayer and increase fees, increase taxes to the max every single year. And then to add insult to injury, we march our people up in front of the council to tell us that get used to it. This is the way it is now. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be, government. That's not the way it's supposed to be. There was a time in this city where we had 300 firefighters, every single one of them, their salary was paid by this community. They were a priority. The same went for the police department. We had a DPW department that was twice as big, all funded by the city. What happened? They all got reduced, but we still managed to spend the money and add more to the budget. So we look at what we've got today, far less service, far higher taxes and fees. Is that the way it's supposed to be? No, because in yesteryear, when we had more services, We also had more people that didn't now fly off into the suburbs to get the hell out of Dodge. Any mayor or councilor that continued to raise taxes all the time with no attempt at controlling spending was going to get ridden out on a rail. They literally shaked. They were shaking in their boots every time a tax increase went before the council. Every mayor, every city councilor was in fear of losing their job. And guess what? That's the way it's supposed to be. You know, government is supposed to be working for us. The city of Fall River is supposed to be spending its money on services directed at the taxpayer. I don't want a press secretary as a taxpayer. What do we have? The President of the United States? We need press secretaries. We need chiefs of staff. And we all know how that job came about. It was just changing title to give somebody who was very close to the mayor a pay raise. We've got all these tiers of people to assist the mayor because, you know, being the mayor of Fall River, God, that's a lot tougher than being like the President of the United States. You need the same type of cabinet. No. Carlton Viveris ran this city with a secretary. And we had twice the number of city employees. All of the departments were larger. But we managed to do it. But now over the years, we've evolved into being the political trough dwellers that we have. Spend more money and then take it out of the taxpayer. And that's not the way it's supposed to be, and I'll never agree with that system.
Screw you, taxpayer!
Yeah, so true.
I think so. I think so. And that's the problem. People don't understand that as long as you let them, and that's exactly what you're doing, as long as you let them raise your taxes, as long as you let them raise your fees, and as long as you let them lie to you and say, but I saved you $120, but you raised my taxes and fees $300. I'd rather pay the $120.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, well,
and this is what happens. And of course, you know, I was discussing this before the show with a very knowledgeable individual, and we said, of course, this is how it works. Whenever something's going right, the administration that's in takes credit for it, even if they didn't do it, like Amazon, like Market Basket. But when something goes wrong, it's the last guy's fault.
or like a fire department apparatus that the federal government paid for.
Right.
I got new trucks. Well, you got new trucks that somebody else paid for.
That's right.
And even the other stuff you got, you didn't pay for anything. You bonded for it.
That's right.
You put us deeper in the hole. Nobody got anything. We did not invest in our own community.
And think about this. He wants to do an override so he can pay for his school.
That's right.
This city needs a $240 million school like it needs a hole in the head. Yeah. Okay, and that's the problem. We need a new school. The problem is we have a 40-year-old school that you can't use. 40 years. If you built your house and it was only good for 40 years, would you pay $200,000 or $300,000 for it? I know I wouldn't.
Well, if you had a house like that, you're better off bulldozing it and putting a modular up. You would have saved money in the long run. But the problem is, as we've said on previous shows, where was the maintenance? Mandated by city ordinance. It says in the city ordinances of Fall River, it says that DCM is responsible for the maintenance of all community buildings. School department has their own maintenance division also. Yet what happened? How did this school fall into this kind of disrepair? We didn't do our jobs. Leadership didn't do their jobs. Everybody on the school department was in charge of that didn't do their job. And guess who pays? You, the taxpayer.
And I'm tired of paying for your mistakes. And we can't have mistakes anymore. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you Friday. Stay angry and get out to that debate tomorrow. I know the Patriots are having their premier game, but you know what? It's a national holiday in Massachusetts for that. Have a good one.